Up here, just for legal reasons, answer yes or no. Are you okay with photography?
Yes.
Reading long words?
Yes.
Being shot? with blanks?
Yes.
I'm just kidding. There was once a very smart Irish boy called Artemis Fowl.
The square root of pi is 1.77245. The diameter of Pluto is 1,400 miles, and the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie is by far the best one.
He is smart. But Artemis did not use his genius for good. In fact, he turned to crime. Book 1, Artemis Fowl.
Spare me the theatrics and sit down.
What did he?
No, that's what I said to the waiter.
The waiter ended up being a secret contact who led him to the fairy, who gave him the secrets of the fairy holy book, which led Artemis directly to me.
My bodyguard, Butler, helped me capture Holly. Could kill you 100 different ways, you know, though I'm sure one would be quite sufficient.
I was in the middle of a secret ritual to regain my powers with an acorn under an ancient oak tree, which was private, by the way, and that's when Artemis kidnapped me, typical human.
And I demanded a ransom of 1 metric ton of 24-karat gold. Ha 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 ha.
In an attempt to rescue me, my superiors at the Left Recon, Commander Foley and Commander Root, recruited the infamous criminal dwarf.
This farting fiend tunneled into my home with the power of his own flatulence.
Which I will now demonstrate. Stand back, human.
I think we can skip that demonstration. But they still ended up having to pay the ransom.
And Holly had to grant me a wish.
I got your mother's sanity back after her nerves breakdown.
It's almost as if you did something good.
I was not. How dare you?
Thank you is still hard work. Book 2, the Arctic Incident. Big round of applause for our sign bearer. He lives on tips.
I was at a boarding school in Ireland when I received an urgent message from my father in Russia.
He'd been kidnapped by the Russian mafia. Artemis had to rush to his rescue, but was stopped short.
Stop short. Get it? By Holly Short?
This is why Artemis is not allowed to tell jokes. And you should know better, Artemis.
Holly, I thought I was supplying contraband to a goblin smuggling ring, but Butler and I found the real culprit, the evil pixie Opal Cowboy.
Book 3, the Eternity Code.
In my spare time, I created a supercomputer from borrowed fairy technology.
Borrowed? That's a nice word for it.
Which I called the C-Cube. However, I can't tell you much more because I can't seem to remember.
He agreed to have his memory wiped of the entire incident. He was ambushed by a double-crosser named John Spiro, who stole the C-Cube and killed Butler.
But then Artemis revived him with the help of my fairy healing magic. It was all very dramatic and well written.
And Artemis promised never to sell fairy technology again.
You can buy the cubes on eBay.
4, the Opal Deception. She's growing in confidence now. So back to the villainous Opal Cowboy. She faked a coma inside an asylum to avoid going to prison, and then managed to escape, replacing herself with an identical clone.
She lured me and Commander Root into a tunnel, and then she did something I can't tell you about because it's a spoiler. But it was bad, and I was wrong.
Don't forget she also launched a biobomb at me.
Once again, I rescued you. But you didn't know who I was because of the mind wiping goes great.
What mind wipe? Oh my goodness, are you a fairy?
Opal then captured Holly and Artemis and threw them into a troll-infested abandoned theme park.
After a very close call, we were rescued by Molten Butler.
Artemis realized that the fairies were the only friends he'd ever had, and finally learned to say,
Thank you.
Book 5, The Lost Colony.
So Butler and I were in Barcelona, Spain, waiting for a demon to arrive from Limbo. That's all I had.
You haven't got any more pages?
Do I skip you?
Oh, that's supposed to be crossed. This is all in the script, don't worry about it. It's very avant-garde.
Being one of the few people in the world able to predict demon materialization, I was ready for it when it popped up in a Sicilian opera house. Unfortunately, I was not the only one who could see him, and the demon was abducted by a girl-child genius. if you can believe such a thing exists.
We had to track down the missing demon and rescue him before his entire colony was destroyed on the journey back to Earth.
Luckily, they succeeded, so I could move on to Book 6. Book 6, The Time Paradox.
At age 14, I was enjoying educating my younger twin brothers in the important things in life.
Like summoning a waiter at a French restaurant. Couldn't you teach them something more important?
Hey, I was just a kid. I had barely finished building my first nuclear reactor. But things get complicated when my mother contracted spelltropy and a fairy disease spread by the use of magic.
The only thing to do was travel back in time, to find the cure in the brain of an extinct lemur. That wasn't extinct in the past.
But when Artemis went back to bring the lemur to the present, he ended up having to save Holly, who was captured by his younger self, and he bumped into his old enemy, Opal Cowboy, who was not old, of course, but actually younger. Young Opal escaped into the future and cast a spell on Artemis' mother. Confused? I am, and I wrote it.
All of this affected the younger Artemis's mind, planting a fascination with berries that set the events of his future in motion.
It created a circular timeline, or time paradox. Wow. Whoever wrote this is an extremely clever and possibly jaw-droppingly handsome.
Book 7, The Atlantis Complex.
I was on a glacier in Iceland unveiling the ice cube, my invention to stop global warming.
That's when his complex revealed itself to Holly and Bold. The Atlantis Complex, a psychological fairy disease with symptoms including OCD, paranoia, and split personality disorder. Poor Artemis.
He accused Foley of trying to steal his invention, sent Butler to Mexico on a fake mission.
I couldn't trust anyone, and when our meeting was interrupted by an attack from a space satellite, I retreated into myself, releasing my alter ego.
Orion, who was the opposite of Artemis, a lovable, goofy, affectionate romantic, who wrote love poems to Holly and had impeccable manners.
I almost missed that guy.
In spite of having two personalities, I managed to save the city of Atlantis and everyone in it. And do I get a thank you? No, I don't.
Book 8, The Last Guardian.
My nemesis Opal is back, and she has a devious plan that is putting the whole world, and more importantly, my home and family in peril. Her plan is to...
Hold on there, Artemis. We're not going to give the last book away.
I need to boost book sales.
To find out what happens, you will just have to read the book. A big hand for our stars, and